I never thought a flood would come like that in a million years. Only God can elevate us up.
Right now, we are officially in the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, and we've got you covered. ABC 15 is your weather authority station. We know many in our area are still recovering from storms we've seen in the past few years. This week, we're going to tackle the impacts of those storms and look ahead to the possibility of the next one. Forecasters expect 4 to 8 hurricanes to form this year.
Now, they warn that 2 to 4 of those hurricanes could be as strong as a Category 3. Subtropical storm Andrea briefly spun up near Bermuda last week. The next name on this list is Barry. One name we will never forget, of course, Florence. The storm is responsible for 53 deaths. Florence destroyed parts of Marion County and left many homeless. We are going to show you how many homes are in flood zones tonight and why only a few hundred actually have flood insurance. And tonight we begin with a follow-up to the disappearance of Heather Elvis. Sydney and Tammy Moore are both serving time in connection to her disappearance. And tonight, the attorney in their civil case says that couple is innocent.
ABC 15's Devon Roming is live at Peachtree Landing, the last place Heather Elvis was seen alive, with what the Moore's attorney has to say. Devon?
Well, Eric Poston says he's putting the final pieces together for the lawsuit on the Moore's behalf. He's going after the Horry County Police Department, the Solicitor's Office, and Facebook for harassment. He says both the Horry County Solicitor's Office as well as Horry County PD know exactly who is responsible for Heather's disappearance.
It's one heck of a tale. You know, I think it's a better story than The Making of a Murderer situation on Netflix that everyone's seen. It's really just, it's an incredible situation.
Attorney Eric Poston is talking about new evidence he says proves Sydney and Tammy Moore had nothing to do with the disappearance of Heather Elvis.
We've got a lot of audio, video, and written transcripts of interviews that did not come out at trial. We've gotten many gigabytes of phone records that were not presented at trial.
Evidence he says Horry County Police know all about.
The only people that have seen this evidence are the solicitor's office, the criminal defense attorneys, and then expert witnesses have seen, select pieces of the evidence.
Poston says there are several people involved in Elvis's disappearance.
These people are friends with the police, very, very close friends with some of these main officers who are involved, and
the people who are responsible for Heather's death have connections to the police.
Extremely close connections.
Tammy Moore took the witness stand during her kidnapping trial, so I asked Poston why she didn't mention any of this on the stand.
We had to reach far beyond anything that Tammy and Sydney are knowledgeable about because they don't know what happened.
Do you know where Heather's body is?
Possibly. The problem with answering that question is we don't want it moved. We don't want it tampered with if there is a body somewhere.
Now, Heather's mother, Debbie, says she is in disbelief and her family's waiting to see the evidence. And the Horry County Solicitor's Office says they are under a gag order, and Horry County Police say they don't comment on pending litigation. For now, reporting live in Horry County, Devon Roming, ABC 15 News.
Devon, thank you. Tammy Moore is serving 30 years on kidnapping and conspiracy charges. Her husband, Sydney, is serving time on obstruction of justice. He's waiting to be retried on the kidnapping charge. Both were originally charged with Heather's murder, but those charges were dropped.
Hurricanes Matthew and Florence have taught the people of the Grand Strand and PD a whole lot of lessons. The storms essentially wiped out communities. ABC 15's Tanya Brown shows us how Marion County is working to make sure people understand the need to prepare now.
The devastation of Hurricane Florence last September caught many by surprise in Marion County, even though they'd just been hit hard by Hurricane Matthew in 2016. Catastrophic flooding left neighbors in Sellers, Britton's Neck, and Gresham reckoning with their future. Nearly 9 months later, the future for some is still unclear.
Got calls last night.
Sellers Mayor Barbara Hopkins says many people in her community are still struggling.
Sellers is definitely in a rut. Sellers is in a position now only God can elevate us up.
Sellers has been in a flood zone since 2011. Hopkins tells me neighbors didn't get flood insurance then, and hurricanes Matthew and Florence haven't changed anything.
I never thought a flood would come like that in a million years, and it's something that happened, and it impacted my life because I lost my home, and my brothers, all of them lost their home. I do something to make sure that they can get the flood insurance. If you do not have it, you're in bad shape.
Marion County's code inspector Jimmy Brown says 1,300 homes are in flood zones, but only 400 of them have flood insurance. Brown says most people can't afford it, plain and simple.
If you're in a flood zone and if your home is actually below the base flood elevation plus the 2-foot freeboard, then that premium is going to be pretty high.
How many people here have been impacted by flooding due to Hurricane Florence in 2018?
Back in March, more than 30 people from Britton's Neck and Gresham met me to talk about problems they're still facing since Hurricane Florence. Some had insurance and some didn't. They're all required, though, to elevate their houses above flood stage. They told me then that's easier said than done.
They want me to raise the 2 rental houses, and it's going to cost anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 to raise them. The houses aren't worth about $50,000 to start with.
Brown says the county has applied for a mitigation grant to help people pay to raise their homes. In the meantime, the county continues to educate residents in flood zones on the need to get flood insurance. Brown says in the long run, it also helps the county with federal disaster aid.
If we follow that ordinance to the letter, then yes, we are more prone to be eligible for more funding through FEMA.
Sellers Mayor Barbara Hopkins says the hurricanes taught her a painful lesson. She made the sacrifice to get flood insurance and now has a new home. She won't stop urging those left in her small town to do the same because of the protection it provides in the aftermath of a storm.
To get flood insurance, that is some kind of comfort.
In Marion County, Tanya Brown, ABC 15 News.
And the county is very hopeful they'll win the grant to help residents raise their homes. Of course, we'll let you know what happens.
Well, overall, today a pretty nice day. Here's a live look from our sky cam in Garden City. We're looking back to the south and west. There's the pier. There's the inlet. You may have noticed today the sky looked very hazy or even smoky, and that's because it actually was smoky. Believe it or not, the upper level winds carrying wildfire smoke from western Canada into the Carolinas during the course of this day. And now it kind of leaves a milky look to the sky there, but of course it makes for beautiful sunsets and sunrises, and I think that smoke will be around tonight and tomorrow before the winds pick up and eventually scour it out of here. All right, let's take a look at what else is happening around the area. Temperature-wise, we're in the upper 80s to around 90 inland. We're in the low 80s along the immediate coast, a far cry from the high heat we had last week. Our dew points, which are a good measure of moisture in the air, have actually dropped off into the 50s in many areas inland, so it doesn't feel outrageously humid. A bit more humid right along the immediate coast thanks to the wind coming in off the ocean. Nice evening to be out and about, mostly clear and dry. Temps into the mid-70s by 11 o'clock. Overnight tonight, low to mid-60s inland, upper 60s at the beaches. Mostly dry as we head through tomorrow, but we do have higher rain chances headed our way. I'll show you when they peak coming up later.
Well, city leaders can't control a hurricane's path, but they can control a developer's plan, and we'll show you where you won't see new homes built in Conway.
The Robeson County Board of Commissioners will meet tonight, and they could adopt their budget. We're going to show you one thing they are waiting on, though. SLED is investigating after investigators say a driver shot at a South Carolina state trooper during a traffic stop in York County. Official state trooper Paul Wise here is now recovering at home with his family. They say he tried to pull the driver over for a seatbelt violation, but he wouldn't stop. Investigators say the driver eventually got out of the car and started shooting. Trooper Wise shot back. The 27-year-old suspect is now in a Charlotte hospital but is expected to be okay. Officials say the trooper was wearing his body armor, and it is believed that that gear saved his life. The Horry County Animal Care Center has run out of room.
Yeah, workers at the shelter talked with the fire department and police department to find out what can be done. They set up an air-conditioned tent, that one right there, to accommodate all of those animals. Right now, workers say there are a lot of animal cruelty investigations, and those animals, they just cannot be released until the cases are closed. Now, the shelter does work with rescue groups to move animals whenever possible.
We have probably about 400 to 450 different rescue groups, and they pull from us on a daily basis.
And shelter workers want you to spay or neuter your pet and keep identification on them. That way, if your pet gets lost, you'll be contacted.
Well, nice and dry out there right now, and I think for the most part tomorrow, but eventually our rain chances are going up. Not such a bad thing given how dry we are. I'll show you when the rain chances peak and how warm it'll be coming up next.
The city of Conway and its partners want to prevent homes from being developed in the path of